Inform everybody that we will record this session. The recording will be available on the research website. And if any of your colleagues are interested or cannot attend, then they can also view the recording. So welcome again to College-Wide Research Vision. We're calling this the CRV Town Hall. My name is Rose Wesson. I'm the Interim Associate Provost for Research here at City College. And we want to use this town hall to answer questions, introduce this initiative, and also spark interest, hopefully, in submitting concept papers to this initiative. So first, let me start out by explaining the CRV, the College-Wide Research Vision. So this is a seed funding competition, and it is specific to City College. This is not a CUNY-wide initiative. This is a City College community initiative. And the idea is that we'd like to, and this is, we're going to use a lot of buzzwords here, but we'd like to harness paradigm shifting fundamental research. We mean we want to look at challenging world problems. We want to make sure that what we're funding in the seed opportunity is far-reaching. It is something different than what we've done before on this campus. And the idea is that we're connecting disciplines. We're connecting diverse disciplines and diverse ways of thinking. So whenever we start talking about diverse disciplines, I get the question of, well, does it qualify if we connect the diverse disciplines of civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and chemical engineering? Because, you know, those faculty are very diverse. No, that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about different disciplines within the same field. What we're talking about is across campus in terms of schools, in terms of divisions, in terms of expertise. Those are the disciplines that we would like to connect with the seed funding opportunity. So we're talking about removing academic silos. We want to look at research that addresses the toughest questions that we might be facing. And we're particularly looking at research that may impact New York City, the state of New York, and may even be transferable to the nation or to the world. So these seed initiatives, to be honest, are not new at universities. We actually had someone here talking with us about an initiative that they've done at University of Texas, Austin, at UT Austin. And their initiative was similar to what we're proposing here, but it was focused on Texas. It was focused on how could UT Austin impact the challenges that are facing Texas. So we're similar here in New York. So we're looking at what are the challenges in our state, what are the challenges in our city that City College of New York could have an impact on. And so I'm going to say this over and over again, and hopefully people will hear me, that we're interested in bringing together faculty from different disciplines. We're looking at sharing knowledge and asking questions from multiple angles. So I spoke about this initiative with my son's girlfriend, now fiance, and she is in public policy. And she was very excited about hearing that people from sciences, people from engineering, people from public policy could work together on an initiative like this. And she was throwing out ideas to me as to different concepts that could be studied with this different angle of bringing people together. And she was very excited and said she's worked in public policy at summer jobs and is actually in law school right now, but has done public policy. And she was giving me examples that this is what's needed, at least in public policy arenas. So we're looking for collaborative research. We're looking for tearing down the silos, tearing down the academic barriers. So we're supporting researchers with tasks on urgent issues and the results having a direct impact. We're looking for solutions that might take less than a decade to take place. So, that's very changeable, but the goal is we're not looking for 40 or 50 year out type research projects. We're not looking for research projects that may be solved or addressed in a year or two. So we're looking on the order of a decade, on the order of 10 years. How can we make an impact here in the city, in the state, in the nation, in the world, in the order of a decade? And then the projects must be rooted with collaboration to produce practical solutions to the social, environmental, economic, cultural, political, and humanitarian challenges. So when the white paper went out, I received questions about, do you have to check each one of these boxes? So if you think about it realistically, the social, environmental, there's overlap here. So you don't necessarily have to check every box, even though there's overlap. But we do want to make sure that you think about the economics, you think about the environmental impacts, you think about the political impacts on these projects that are being proposed. The other idea is that the teams must seek external funding. So this is seed funding that we're talking about here, but you must seek external funding to grow the effort during the 3-year funding period, as well as after the funding ends. So again, this is seed funding. This is not a project that we're hoping will end after 3 years. This is something that we're hoping that will continue. We're looking for forward-looking views, things that are at the forefront of research and innovation. We're not looking to fund an individual PI's group or to extend the PI's ongoing research. So if you're doing research in area A, it may give you ideas as to how you can grow that research, how you can expand that research in different directions. But we're not interested in funding a current PI's lab. The other thing that we're hoping will happen is that we'll have these as multi-stage discussions. So what do I mean by that? So initially when we put out the white paper, researchers would come and ask, well, I'm doing research in statistics and I don't necessarily have a partner, but I would like to see how my expertise can partner with someone else in a different school. So my response to that is, yes, we'd like for you to seek partners prior to submitting your concept papers. But if perchance you have this expertise and you'd like to work with others and you don't have a partner, feel free to submit your concept papers. What we envision is that we will work with the papers that are submitted and we can make teams. So you may say, I got a team already of A, B, and C, and I think my team is strong. But what we'll see from the papers is another team of X, Y, and Z may need to come together, and that would be even stronger team. So these are not once over submissions. We envision this as a multi-stage discussion in order to build the best teams. Now, what I'll also say is that if this works as it is envisioned, and it is an experiment, I'll admit it's an experiment, we would like to think about bringing in a facilitator, someone whose expertise is in team science, in building teams. So if we have these concept papers that we see we might want to merge, then this facilitator may be able to work with the individual groups to build stronger teams. So it's a multi-stage discussion. It's going to take place, hopefully, over this academic year, and will continue to grow as we have these discussions. So the fourth bullet is that the teams may merge into single funded projects, but that's where we're going with this. Oh, I forgot to say in the beginning, if you have questions, please put your questions in the chat, and we'll be monitoring that chat, and we can also address the questions at the end. So I'm anticipating this will be about 20-30 minutes discussion, and then we'll have time for questions. So the ideas will be submitted through what we're calling concept papers. And these concept papers, as I said, will be reviewed. And we're looking to invite up to 5 submitters to the CRC. Now, the CRC is our College Research Council, and it's composed of deans from every school or division and 4 additional faculty members. So the CRC will review these submissions. And that's what I'm trying to say, that the submissions will not be kept confidential, because we may need to merge teams. We may need to do some, what's the word I'm looking for? Just different iterations of these teams. So just be aware that this information may or may not be, will not be kept confidential. Additional requirements. So as I was going over these slides, I said, oops, Rose, you put this in twice, but I'm going to say it twice because it's important. We're asking that the teams seek external funding. This is only seed funding. External funding to grow and sustain the effort during the 3-year period and after the 3-year period. We're also requesting that the selected team will report out by way of semi-annual reports, semi-annual presentations to the CRC, and annual reports to the Office of Research. So the funding will be, and you'll see a number of caveats here, up to $200,000 annually for up to 3 years. So the reason we put the caveats in there is because, again, as I said in the beginning, this is an experimental thing. And we're trying to get the teams formed so that we can support the best effort. But if perchance we make a mistake, or if perchance the research does not proceed as we had expected, then there's no guarantee that this single project will receive $200,000 for 3 years. That's the goal, that we're funding things for 3 years, but there's no guarantee. We want to make sure with the annual reports, with the presentations, that the research progresses. And again, the goal is to support 1 project beginning in July of 2022. The budget. So we said 200K, there are some stipulations on the budget. Now, just recall that this is 200K of direct costs. There's no IDC associated with this seed funding. So everything is a direct cost. No capital equipment can be purchased out of this funding. If capital equipment needs arise, then the team will be given a higher priority in future GRT and GRTI funding. Now, the GRTI funding for this round, this current, what are we in, fiscal year 22 has already been expended. So we're talking future GRTI funding. And we'll encourage the teams to submit external capital equipment grants. Those are some of the external funding grants that the team could submit. Maximum one summer month of support for the key faculty can be used for that 200K. We also recommend thinking about funding, actually hiring a postdoc or program manager, however you want to call it, to oversee this research. The teams will have people from different disciplines working together, and we want to make sure that everyone has a voice, everyone participates, and coordinating these teams, it might be useful to have a postdoc or a project manager associated with the effort. Graduate students or support is allowed. Undergraduate student support is also allowed. Graduate student support is somewhat preferred, but undergraduate student is allowed as well. And then you can use some of the funds for travel. Limited travel funds would be allowed. Our timeline. So in October 1, we sent out the announcement, the white paper. If you didn't receive it, we'll send it out again, or check your emails, CRB. We're having the town hall today, October 21st. Admittedly, our concept papers are due December 1st, which is a quick turnaround. Quick, I understand it's a quick turnaround, but that's 2 months to try to form the teams. The December 1st deadline is a hard deadline. There's no wiggle room here in terms of December 1st. Now, the wiggle room continues after December 1st. So the plan now is that the concept papers will be reviewed by the CRC between December and January of 2022. Depending on the number of proposals or concept papers that we receive, we would like to coordinate or facilitate the potential teams during the months of January to March to work with the teams to see if we can merge teams or put people with teams that may be encouraged and growing by additional participation. The presentation to CRC of select teams and concept papers will again occur in April, once we've had this workshopping of teams in January to March. By college coordination, people have asked, what do we mean by college coordination? Well, we've got to get the upper administration involved. We've got to get City College as a whole involved. So during the months of May and June, we'll have presentations to like town halls like this to City College faculty and staff. We'll have presentations to the upper administration. We'll have presentations to probably the CRC again as we continue this process. But the final selection for the CRB teams is made by the president. We can advise, the CRC will advise, but the final selection is made by the president. And that will happen in June of 2022, with the start of the projects beginning as I said, in July. That's the goal. But the December 1, 2021 is a hard deadline. We cannot extend that. That's a hard deadline. And that will allow us to proceed and hopefully make the awards in July. One award. Don't know how well you can see this, but I just wanted to throw up the concept paper template. This is an abridged version. In the information that was sent around previously, there were some examples given in each one of these. But the idea is that our concept papers are 2 pages. We don't want anything more than that. We want to get the gist of what you're doing, but we don't want a 15-page proposal. So maximum of 2 pages containing keywords. We want to know what the objective and the approach is. We're interested in the outcomes of the proposed team and the project, the products that you expect. Why is this meritorious? What are the merits? And what is the expected impact that's going to happen as a result of this seed funding? And then we'd like to know about your budget projections. Maximum budget being $200K, personnel costs, OTPS costs, and recognizing that there's no equipment and that there's no IDC in this budget. So the review criteria. The questions that were placed here are indicative of, we want to make sure that we're funding these far-reaching, NSF word, transformational type projects. So does the proposed topic represent a significant leap in a research area? Or is it possible that we might create a new research area for our campus, something that can grow on our campus? What are the breakthroughs? What are the proposed breakthroughs? And why is this the right time? What's happening either in the city, in the state? What's happening that makes this the opportune time to do this seed funding and to do this research? Is there a potential for making significant progress on current or national or societal need? Some folks don't like the word grand challenge. I think that might be an NSF word, but what impact will funding this proposed impact, expected impact, will funding this project have? What societal need will be addressed? Does it require interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary expertise? Now, we know at City College, we know as a minority serving institution, we've sometimes been called upon to assist with proposals that need minority serving institutions, but we're not there really to help with the research. So we don't want that happening here. We want to make sure that the people that are involved in the concept paper and the project are there because they feel a need, not because it's window dressing and I needed to have somebody from a different school working with me. That's another question. People have asked, do I need to have everyone, a representative from each of the 8 schools or divisions here in City College? No, I think that's probably going to be very difficult to do. So if I don't need a representative from each 8, then how many do I need? Do I need 2? Do I need 3? You need what you need in order to address the needs of whatever challenge you're proposing. What do you need in terms of faculty and expertise? And I would advise it's probably more than 2, but it's less than 8. Is the scope beyond the capabilities of one school? And that is to say, that's my example of, if I get a bunch of engineers together, it's probably not interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary project that we're proposing. Finally, how will the project be managed? What's the role of the non-lead personnel? That's to say, everybody has a role in the project. And we're not window dressing who's the lead, who are the non-leads, who are the co-leads, what is the management structure of the project. So that's 12:30. I debated back and forth whether to give examples or not. We decided to put some examples together. And the caveat here, and I don't know, Alan, if you want me to say that you helped me with these examples, but I've said it. The caveat here is that these are wild and crazy ideas. They're not supposed to be representative of anything that you may want to submit, but I thought it might be useful to give a couple of examples. So for instance, if we're talking about farming, what could we do in the farming system? And again, this may not be applicable to New York City, but what could we do in the farming industry that would address energy and water resources, and also look at how we can improve what we grow and how we grow it? So this project would potentially have an impact on small and large farms. So it would have a societal impact. It could have a political impact in that it could look at food security, climate change. There would be a renewable energy portion. Maybe there's a self-sustainable operation associated with this project. It could be AI driven, where computers could be used to determine the amount of water needed for plant growth. It could be a modular design that happens so that there's engineering brought in here in terms of equipment. The agriculture component is still there in optimizing plant growth and resource needs. And then there's a business model, there's an economic portion to this. What's the cost effectiveness of whatever's being proposed here? And then finally, we're talking about the viability of this. Is this sustainable? Is it? And then somebody threw in this cost down modeling. I have no idea what that means, but that's a different, that's something that is not in my vernacular, but it could be applicable to this farming idea. So it's bringing together groups who normally don't work together to address a societal need. Another just idea that tries to illustrate how we're trying to bring together faculty, researchers from different areas. So we know about ocean plastic waste being a challenge, but we also know that some systems have also collected these wastes in the ocean, and then you have to transport it back to the shore and do whatever you need to do, trash collection, whatever you need to do. Maybe that could be combined with what's been happening in the fishing industry, where people fish out in the oceans and then they process the catch, whatever the fish they catch, on board. And so it's ready to go to market. Can you apply that concept potentially to harvesting waste in the ocean? So the system could bring in mining, because you would harvest that waste from the ocean. You'd have to sort it. Maybe it's some AI technique that you use for sorting this plastic waste. If you're thinking out of the box, then maybe you would process that waste on this vessel out in the ocean. And so you'd make pellets out of it. Maybe even then you'd injection mold it into something usable out there in the ocean, rather than bringing the waste onto shore and then doing all of this processing. I don't know. And so once the vessel would come ashore, then it would offload all of these products. So this proposed project would bring in oceanography. It could also bring in mechanical engineering, computer science, industrial engineering. There could be an economic portion to it, how relevant or how efficient is this economically. There's a social science aspect of it, because you're removing plastic waste from the ocean. But there could also be a humanitarian effort, because you're removing plastic, but an arts effort. Maybe there's some artistic things that could be done with the plastic waste, rather than making pellets and crates and whatever you want to do with it. Out of the box thinking, just an example to bring together researchers with different expertise to look at a challenging problem. That's all I have. Questions. I'm hoping that we've been able to spark some interest, to explain the white paper a little bit more in detail, and also maybe intrigue you enough that you have additional questions. So Alan, do we have questions?
Sure. Dr. Diana, Professor Diana Greenwald, she needs to leave early, but she posted a question. Are interdivisional projects prioritized over interdisciplinary?
Good question. So interdivisional, meaning between our different schools and divisions. Interdisciplinary, between the different disciplines that could be in a school or division, or it could be across schools and divisions. The point is, we would like to have projects that cut across the campus so that they do have multiple schools and divisions involved. Does that answer the question?
I think so. And from Professor Prasad, are there any major themes around which the 5 teams will be organized?
So there is a similar NSF effort to this, and I have to be completely honest that we developed this effort without the knowledge of what was happening at NSF. But the NSF effort, similar to this, is focused on climate change. We have not put in a topic area that we would like people to address. It's open. It's wide open. We'd like for you to tell us, what do you think are the challenges? What do you think are the important areas that should be addressed? So no, there are no themes that we're looking for.
And from Professor Anna Carnival, your examples make me realize that the question per se does not need to be grounded in New York City or New York.
No. I'm sorry, you finished, Alan.
Okay, is this a correct inferenced.
No, it is,
Yeah, as long as it is transferable to local process slash landscapes, is it fair game to ask broader questions such as at broader regional, continental, or global scales? I was confused about the geographical scale of the project.
so the examples that we gave were just that. They were just examples that were thought of off the top of our heads. What we're looking for are things applicable to New York City, applicable to New York State, that may be transferable to the country or the world. So we don't want, for instance, the farming issue that might be applicable in Kansas. That's great for Kansas. But is there something that New York City or New York State would get from that? And so that's what we're looking for. Was there a second part of that question?
I think that's it.
Okay, all right.
From Professor Maria Lima, she asked, I have a question about external funding. Would this be restricted to federal type funding? And how early should this be pursued in the trajectory of the proposal?
So external funding it doesn't have to be federal. It could be state, it could be local. External funding, however, is not CUNY. It's not PSC CUNY. So external is just external to CUNY. The how soon? You know, we would encourage the team to look at external funding resources as soon as possible, but when they're ready. I mean, the seed funding is there to start the research, but we're hoping that the team is also submitting proposals along the way. And that's the reason for the 6-month presentations. That's the reason for the the annual reports, to see your progress along the way.
Okay. From Professor Reza Kanzavati, he asked, would ASRC collaboration be considered as CCNY team?
Would ASRC collaboration be considered what?
As a CCNY team member.
So if the professor at ASRC has a CCNY appointment, that's a CCNY team. If the professor has a CUNY appointment outside of CCNY, that is not a CCNY team. So let me address this elephant in the room. Can teams include non-CCNY team members? And the answer is yes, encouraged. You got a friend down the street in Columbia that's working on something that you think would be an asset to the team that you're proposing? That would be nice. The only drawback is that the seed funding cannot go external to City College. So if you have a team member that may be external to City College, then that team member may be able to receive funding from your external funding that you're seeking, but they cannot be funded from the seed funding from the CRV effort. But would love to have external members on teams.
That's all the questions on the chat. Do you want to open the audios for people?
Sure. If anybody else has any other questions or thoughts?
If you have any questions or if you would like to make a comment, please unmute yourself.
Hi, good afternoon. My name
Hi.
is Lee Batiste, and I'm a student at CCNY. I wanted to ask if we are not sure of a particular project, but there may be 10 groups that are working on something and competing for all this, is there a way to sign up for the projects that have been proposed?
Right. So hindsight is 2020. That's a great idea. And we have not incorporated that into the process. So what I would suggest is, one, I would encourage people who are interested in submitting to this opportunity to try to find a team. But if you can't, if you have a great idea and you'd like to submit a concept paper, we can help facilitate your membership on a team, potential membership on a team. So I don't want to discourage people from submitting concept papers because they have not formed teams. The best thing to do, however, is to try to, I hate to fall back on my NSF stuff, but when you submit a proposal to NSF and you don't say where it should go, then the program directors shop it around. That's not always the best thing for a proposal. So the best thing here is to find a team. But if you cannot find a team, then you can submit, and we, as the CRC and as the deans, will look at that and see if it makes sense to incorporate onto a team.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, thank you again for coming to the town hall. Feel free to reach out. I should have put that link here, Alan. The email address for this is, help me, Alan, college. The email address, I don't remember what it is. It's in the, if you have questions, feel free to send me an email. There is an email alias in the original CRV announcement that you can also send questions to, and both will be addressed, answered. December.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to leave the meeting for a second. But will it be possible to send us a link of this conference to the participants, maybe through an email or something?
A link. Wait.
Yeah,
the link.
of this conference, so we can review it. For instance, if people have questions, or if I want to disseminate this with some of my colleagues in the humanities, will be possible to have a recorded conferences link, so people may review it. People who were not able to attend this meeting, so they can see it.
Yeah, the webinar will be posted on the research website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we'll do that hopefully by tomorrow morning.
When you say research website, is like the page. I'm sorry, this is Araceli Tinajero. I'm asking very basic questions because I'm myself getting familiar with a lot of things.
Right.
So when you say the research page, I mean the portal of the research of CCNY research.
Yes, on that home page.
On the homepage.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
So what I was going to say was that remember the deadline for concept papers is December 1st.
Yeah.
And that's a hard deadline.
Yeah, sometimes when we submit to PSC CUNY, the deadline sometimes is that time in the morning, that time in the afternoon. Is there any specific time, like 5 p.m. would be the time to...
We'll go for 11:59.
Okay,
PM.
Eastern time, okay.
Eastern time, right, right, Eastern time.
Thank you.
Maria?
Yes.
Go ahead, Araceli.
No, I think Maria had a question, Professor Lima.
Now, just to say that I dropped the email address for you, Rose, on the chat.
Thank you.
Oh.
No problem. No problem.
Okay, so is there? Okay. CCNY reservation. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, everyone. Looking forward to receiving concept papers. And if you have any questions or any additional ideas, just feel free to drop us a line. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye now. Bye.
Bye-bye.